Welcome to a very special Saturday live CK podcast here on the Basketball Zone YouTube channel. I got my man who I've missed a ton. We haven't been doing the show for about 4 months now, Robert. And the Raptors, you're right about your predictions. They're a top 6 team. And there isn't one single team in the Eastern Conference that are saying, damn, I want the Raptors in the first round, because that's a dangerous-ass team. How you doing, my man?
I'm doing good. I'm doing really well. I've missed this podcast as well. It's been really nice to see everything going on in Raptorland. I'm happy that Scotty's as good as you and I thought he was going to be, if not better.
Yep.
If not better.
If not better.
I'm happy to see that Raptor prediction. I will correct one thing though. I had the Raptors finishing 7th, and they're exceeding even my expectations. I had them 7th. I think you had them 7th too, right? So we were both unusually high on the Raptors.
I had them
7th or 8th, right?
I had them 8th or 10th, but I had it in the play-in for sure. But top 6 is just wow. And again, props to Scottie Barnes, we'll get into the whole how far can it go? Is he rookie of the year? And question marks around Fred VanVleet. But man, to me, Scottie Barnes has been the revelation of the NBA, and I don't think it's a hot take. Like, he's made this team a 6 seed. Like, without him, they're not a top 6 team. Would you agree or disagree with that?
I absolutely agree. I just think, it's sort of strange to have a guy who's putting up these types of numbers, especially when you factor in that he's just not a numbers guy. He's not a guy who picks up big numbers. He does the small things that don't usually show up on the box score, but they are starting to pick up on the impact metrics. And, Thinking Basketball, they did this podcast recently video breakdown on him. And they were talking about how those on-off impact metrics are really starting to pick up his off-the-ball movement, his passing, his screen setting. All those small things, even the pass to the passer, like the hockey assist that people talk about, these small heady things, like how he gaps, how he relocates on cuts, how he times his cuts. There's all these small little things that I honestly feel like it's absurd to see a 20-year-old doing this.
And that's offensively. Defensively, he does little things that no one talks about, man. And it's insane to see that. And I just hope the NBA can somehow bring a box score stat that can showcase the type of things that, say, a guy like Scotty, say a guy like Dante DiVincenzo, who was on a winning culture with the Bucks, has brought some of that to the Kings. And it's those little things that never show up, like deflections. Like, it's crazy, bro.
Here's an alarming stat for you. Of the top 8 players picked in the 2021 entry draft, guess who has the lowest usage?
Scottie Barnes.
Scottie Barnes at 19%. That's crazy to me. It's like you can say that, okay, you can justify that Cade has 27% because he's playing on a trash team like Detroit.
For sure.
But Kuminga at 22%, Evan Mobley over 20%. That's crazy.
Kuminga's at 22?
Yep. Usage, baby. And that's the thing. It's like,
but does it count? Because how? Well, he hasn't even played enough.
It's important to realize that usage is a per minute stat, right? So it talks about how a player is, like, it's a percentage, usage percentage. Yeah. So it's how a player is used as a percentage point relative to the other players they play with when they're playing. So obviously for Scotty and Evan Mobley, you're going to have a slightly lower usage because you play with better teammates, you play more minutes, etc. But I think that Scotty's usage rate is alarming because he's very close to Precious and Chris Boucher in terms of usage on this team. And the guys ahead of him shouldn't be ahead of him, quite frankly, in my opinion. The only guy ahead of him on that usage rating should be Pascal Siakam. But there's an understated
who's been a beast, by the way. That's my guy.
Siakam's been amazing, and honestly, I was so wrong about him coming into this season. Like, I was telling people, like,
I was telling you, just relax, let him get in shape. It's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine.
It's a little unprecedented. I think what's really happened with Siakam is kind of ironic because I think it's the same thing that sort of happened with DeMar DeRozan, where the passing element that has come into his game has unlocked every deficiency and is masked for so many problems that he has. Pascal Siakam is not, okay, now Raptor fans are going a little bit nuts right now saying like, because our media guys are completely insane and they sometimes get on their tirades and campaigns to, so they're like, name me 15 players in the league who are better than Pascal Siakam. I'm like, bro, I can name you 3 players on the Celtics who are better than Pascal Siakam, but two definitely.
For sure. Yeah.
Two definitely. But what I will say is that, a lot of his deficiencies, so like one of the deficiencies that I would see is like you saw it in Orlando game, like he had trouble posting up Cole Anthony. That's a problem. And that's a problem. You're gonna, he's sometimes a streaky
Would you say
shooter,
that he's soft?
I don't think he's soft. I think he's weak. I think he's a little bit weak. I think he encourages contact a little bit more, but there's look, at the end of the day, this is a guy who hasn't been playing basketball for a very long time. There are things that he still misses, but he's gotten so much better with his feel for the game. He has a few more counters to the counters. Before it was just spin move, and then boom. But even right now, you see him barrel into defenses with completely obvious projected offensive fouls. There's a lot to him. Right now, he's pretty much at the level that you would expect like a 22-year-old, like all-American superstar to be at. But he's 27. So the game has it's sort of like he's slowly catching up to the kids who started playing at 5 years old. But a lot of that stuff that when you really have a ball in your hand at 5 years old and you really learn how to play the game at a young age, that stuff still hasn't come, but he's athletically gifted. He has quick hands. He's one of the fastest big men in the league. There's a lot that's going for him. But again, you worry in the postseason when the floor shrinks a little bit and transition isn't such a huge thing because, obviously with a gazelle like big man like this, you're going to have a lot of leak out opportunities and easy offense that he gets in transition. So when that goes away and you go in half court, what I've seen is that there have been some teams this year that have pulled that away from him. They've ganged him, they've double teamed him. And in those situations, the advanced passing, the better passing, the more willing passing, and hopefully the better teammates, bigs guys like Scottie Barnes flashing into the paint, making themselves easy targets, having OG back, Gary, Fred, it just works better. It works better than it used to with, Gasol back in the bubble, like when we had Gasol and Lowry. So I think it's just, I think that passing game for him has just made him a slightly better first option. I don't think he holds a candle to the league's best, like Jokic, Giannis. This is not a conversation that we're ever going to have.
He's like a tier under those really good players. Like he's definitely an all-star to me. He's more of an all-star to me than like Fred is. You know what I mean?
100%. If that vote happened today, there's no doubt that he would get in over Fred VanVleet, especially after the nosedive that VanVleet has had.
And that's not a knock on Fred. It's just like Fred's a really good player. I'm just saying, Siakam,
he's
there's levels to this, right?
Absolutely. Thinking basketball, which we already alluded to, they did a top 10 point guard ranking, and that was during Fred's hot streak, and they had Fred at number 10. And I thought that was kind of fair.
For the season or
for the season. They said that he was the 10th best point guard. But it's the distortion ends up being that you have Raptor fans who are hearing media guys all day saying he's a top 5 point guard. And that's just not true. You don't watch enough you know what I mean? There's a lot of guys.
You don't watch Kyrie enough of the other guys.
Exactly. But that's the thing with every
He's not
fan
better
base,
than Garland.
He's not better than Kyrie. He's not better than Garland. He's not better than Kyrie. No. He's not better than there's a lot
LaMelo.
There you go. Right there. I don't even think he's better than Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. But there's a lot.
Shai is a beast. You put Shai on this team? Oh my God.
And that's my point, right? So there's so many guys out there, especially, you consider the guys who are out with injuries right now, like Dame Lillard, and top 10 is very generous. So I'm saying at his peak, he was top 10. But Pascal Siakam, he's top 10 comfortably in terms of power forwards. He's maybe even top 6, top 7 power forward.
Without question.
So I think that it's important to have that type of talent. And do I think that this is the type of guy you can win as a number 1 option championship? No, hell no. Not
he's still close. Number at best to me, I've always told you that is he's
He's a
still number two to
2.5.
me.
Yeah, he's a
Okay, I mean
2.5 to
he's
me. Like
to you,
I
yeah,
think
yeah.
he's a number two if your number three is like basically Lamar Odom. Like he's like prime Lamar Odom. If
So
he's
is
your number
Fred
two,
Van
that number
Vliet
three has
your because in essence we're projecting Scotty to be a one, Siakam to be a two. So is are you comfortable with Fred being your three?
no.
So you want
I
him to be
think
your fourth best player?
Yeah, I think OG, see, I think like OG is kind of like the guy who lost his season due to all these
Yeah,
injuries and nagging shit.
he
And his
has.
percentages were down because of that finger thing, which he didn't take care of. But the truth is that OG is having a career year. It's a bit underrated, but his impact is enormous. He has a few balance issues. He loses his footing once in a while, but he's come a long way as a post player, as a ball handler, as a mid-range shooter. And I think, he's just 24 years old, so he's like 3 years younger than the Siakam and Fred VanVleet. And, he's committed to growing. It's a little bit weird with OG because every time he starts to get it going, boom, injury. And it's a little stop and go, stop and go, stop and go. And obviously, as you know, like every time you get injured, there's always a rehab process. You lose your momentum. You have to come
100%.
back. You have to find it. You lose your place within the offense. And it's funny because when we started this year out, it was very clear that Siakam and OG were your 1 and 2 options. As the year has gone on, and Fred VanVleet, I remember, admitted just as much because when Siakam was out, he said OG is our guy. But OG kind of came out of the gate a little bit slow, probably because of this finger thing. And Fred VanVleet suddenly it became like a 1A, 1B situation with those two. And I think OG had like 36 or 35 points at
Yeah, he
Madison
did.
Square Garden. And that was like the last time that I really remember him being like a featured guy. And some guys are not naturally kind of inclined to blend in. They're not like alpha scorers. And I think with guys like Scotty and OG, they're naturally kind of like prone to just fitting in a little bit. But it doesn't mean that their talent level excuses, them being because they're way more efficient scorers than Fred VanVleet. Even Fred VanVleet, when he was being like really good,
Right.
he was just at that level that they're at. So yeah, so I think going forward, I wouldn't mind seeing like a maybe like okay, definitely Scotty number one, Pascal number two, and then number three can just be whoever's hot that night. Could it be
Right.
Gary? Could it be Fred? Could it be OG? I don't know, but I definitely see a greater upside offensively for OG Anunoby and definitely defensively than I
Okay.
do for Gary or Fred for sure.
So Terrence Smith in the comments says the Raptors are a dangerous team when healthy. Not many teams want to see the Raps in the playoffs, in my opinion. So let's get to the question, which is the main question of the show. How far can the Raptors go? And I'll be honest with you, I'm not the biggest Gary Trent fan. Well,
Me neither.
let me retract that. I wasn't the biggest fan going into the season, and to
Mhm.
me, even his deflections, it was in a way like a fool's gold stat. But he's played well this year, so I got to give him credit for that. And
He's
you
played to
know,
the contract. He's played to the contract. I mean, what are you
yeah,
expecting from him, right? You're paying him $17 million a year. You're not going to expect CJ McCollum from him. You're not expecting Klay Thompson.
right.
But his numbers, it's kind of alarming. His numbers are pretty close to Klay. It's pretty close. It's weird. The
Like this season,
percentages,
or like
no, same point in their career when they were both 23 years
okay,
old.
okay.
It's very similar. Shooting percentages, 3-point percentages, steals, all the ways that they impact the box score.
And it's funny that that I bring him up because I've been wondering because I've been kind of trickling with my jump shot and how like my guide hand for some reason goes like this, and I
Mm.
found the one player in the NBA whose guide hand for whatever reason just turns inward, and I was like, oh shit, well there's an NBA player who is league wide considered a very good shooter that his guide hand goes this way. So I just obviously that's off topic, but I just thought that was interesting, man. But how far can the Raptors go?
I think it depends on who they face, right? Initially, when we walked into the season, I was like, they'd be lucky to have a competitive play-in, right? That would be great
Mm,
if they just get a playoff seed, get some experience. But there are so many teams right now that are sputtering to the finish line right now, right? Do I think the Raptors could beat a healthy Boston Celtics team? No. But Robert Williams is out for 4 to 6 weeks, right?
that's
Do I
big.
think the Raptors could beat a healthy Cleveland team? No, I don't.
Yes,
But
yes,
Jared
I
Allen
do.
is out.
I do.
You do?
Yeah,
A healthy Cleveland team.
yeah.
We're talking everyone healthy. We're
I
talking
do, because
Colin
that team doesn't
Sexton,
have
Darius Garland.
experience in the playoffs. That's why. And the Raptors, they have two guys in Siakam and Fred that have been there, done that. And I think in a 7-game series, and even OG, and with that type of coach, I'm
Yeah.
gonna give them the advantage every time. Now, like if you're saying NBA 2K on paper, I can see your argument, but no, I'm definitely giving the advantage to the Raptors. In terms of the Celtics, yeah, I mean, Celtics are a better team.
Kevin Love has championship experience that
But that's it,
you
though.
could argue he played well. I mean, that's yes,
Let's not
but
include Rondo in there. I mean, no.
okay, Rajon Rondo does have playoff experience, incredible playoff
Sure,
experience.
but he's
Karis
not like
LeVert
playing
is an
over
extremely
Darius.
right, but Karis LeVert is an extremely talented player, in my opinion. You know, Darius Garland
Love Karis.
is a
Love Karis.
problem. It like I just look at playoffs as like how many matchups can you exploit, right? I think Jared Allen and Evan Mobley present so many problems for the Raptors inside, offensively, defensively, right? So if those two are healthy, and I've seen it, like I saw it in the game that Jared Allen was healthy, like there's no one on the Raptors who can even close to deal with that dude. He's crazy good. And defensively, he shuts down so much of what Pascal Siakam does. Look, I look at, what is the Raptors' major advantage? And there are two teams that I don't think we really have a major advantage over, which is Boston and Cleveland, because of the length and switchability and all that stuff. If you really look at what Boston's doing, like everyone talks about the Raptors being like super revolutionary with this whole 6-8 switch everything. Look at what Boston's doing. They're doing what the Raptors are doing, but better, with better players. That's the truth. Like I'm saying this as a Raptor fan, so I hope like Raptor fans listening out there don't think I'm hating on our own team. I'm just being objective. Jason Tatum is a better player than Pascal Siakam. It's not even freaking close. So
100%.
just don't even talk about it,
100%.
right? And
100%.
Marcus Smart is a much better defender than Fred VanVleet. It's just not even close.
100%.
And Robert Williams, as a big man defender, is light years ahead of Scottie Barnes. So
100%.
when we talk about switch everything, and Jaylen Brown,
Jaylen
like
Brown is a better defender than VanVleet and Trent. He's
yep,
not a better defender than OG, but yeah, I can
he's
see that.
close. He's close.
Yeah.
Like I've often thought about like Jaylen Brown on the Raptors before this started working out in Boston, and I was like, man, what wouldn't I give? Would I give 4 draft picks for him? 100%. He's really
100%.
good
100%.
defensively, especially. Like offensively, he's cool. Like he puts up his points. They're
He'd be
not
the
always very
perfect
efficient.
fit. Like he'd be so
Yeah.
good with the Raptors.
Yeah. So I don't mean to dive into like this, but I know we want to keep
two
this
teams.
condensed. But
So you have the Cavs fully healthy and the and the Celtics fully healthy.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to face those two teams.
Okay.
I do like our chances against Chicago. If we were to match up against Chicago, I don't mind that matchup. I don't necessarily want to see Milwaukee, to be honest, just because I think Drew Holiday in the post is a thing. And I think like Giannis, Brook Lopez, that's like a lot of size to put up. But Nick Nurse has solved the Giannis problem many times. I think our best bet, I know this is going to sound crazy,
Philly.
but I think our best bet might be Philly and Miami. And the reason I say that
me
is,
too. Yep.
And it sounds counterintuitive because you're like, okay, well, Miami's like the number 1 seed, blah, blah, blah. They're really good. They have Bam, they have Jimmy, etc. But I just think about like how many ways can you exploit that matchup? And I just think it's like in the playoffs, it is all about matchups. So I would rather face Miami than a healthy Boston team, 100%. And I would rather face Philly than I'd face Milwaukee.
And I'd rather face Philly than I'd rather face Miami. Like to me, there's a pecking order. Like if the Sixers can somehow, it's not crazy thing, but if they can get the 3 seed, and the Raptors stay at 6, that's the best matchup for them. Only because Doc Rivers is notoriously known to blow leads, and there's already things trending there in Philadelphia as it is, like their little moon phase with Harden and Embiid. Like he already threw Harden under the bus, and it's been like 3 weeks. So no, I think Raptors, Sixers, that's a second round for the Raptors in like 7, Brian. And I think that'd be huge for Scotty Barnes.
I don't know about that for sure, but I definitely think like, okay, look, I look at it this way. Like if the Raptors can make it to the second round this year, that would be insane. Exceeding expectations by 800%.
Oh my
Like that
God.
would be like if you were envisioning all the outcomes that could have possibly happened this year, that's your 0.01% percentile, like type of outcome. Like that's
100%.
crazy. Like so many things had to go
That's
right. And
like
it's
betting
crazy
on
because so many things have
Dogecoin
gone
when
wrong.
like Doge was like at 0.00 and then it hit like
Yeah.
$60.
And it's funny because so many things have gone wrong for the Raptors. OG has missed 2 months. Pascal's missed the entire, first month of the season. You had to integrate him, the youth, etc. Goran Dragic, that trade didn't work out. You had to give up a first to get Thad Young. Integrating Thad Young. Thad Young has been worse than he's been in Chicago and San Antonio for us so far. Kem Birch has been consistently injured. Precious has never met a shot he doesn't like. There's a lot of things that haven't gone right for the Raptors. Gary Trent's been injured. Scottie Barnes has, had
Are
the
you afraid
tendonitis
of
in the knee.
Brooklyn
Yes.
or
Hell yes.
Atlanta?
Dude, Atlanta, no.
Okay.
I understand the Atlanta issue. Um I think that as much as I think Trae Young is really good at basketball,
Hmm.
I trust Fred VanVleet to keep someone like that in check. I know
Okay.
he's quick. I know he's good, but I trust Fred to just be smart with it. I think Trae has a lot in common with Steph in terms of how he gets his shots off and stuff. And we saw how Fred VanVleet did in the finals against Steph. There's certain guys that I think he can do really well against. There are obviously certain players that I don't want to see Fred VanVleet play against, like Marcus Smart. Like I don't want to see that matchup. I don't want to see him against Drew Holiday either. I think there are certain matchups that, just again, a vertically challenged, unathletic 6 foot guy with a 6'1" wingspan just does not want to see certain matchups. And yeah, sometimes those matchups include players that aren't usually very good, like Markelle Fultz, right? But they're just problematic players for that particular player. I don't think Trae Young is that type of player.
Okay.
I think Kyrie could be that type of player, to be honest, because he's just on a different level. But again, I think I would prefer Brooklyn than Boston, to be honest. Unless,
That's
unless,
interesting.
yeah, no, Boston
That's
scares the living crap
interesting.
out of me. I'm not being a prisoner of the moment when I say this. I mean, I saw a Boston team without Jaylen Brown, without Jason Tatum, without Robert Williams, without Al Horford come into Toronto and wipe the floor with the Raptors, and they barely won that game.
I saw it.
And
I lost money because they couldn't cover the
yeah,
damn spread.
yeah, no, it's an incredibly.
They were 8.5 favorites, bro.
Do you remember before this year we had this discussion about Rick Carlisle being a top 5 coach, and I
Hmm.
said he wasn't. And who was the guy that anyone who wants to go back and watch this, and I said
Hmm.
specifically Ime Udoka. I'm like, trust me, I remember meeting Ime Udoka like 10 years ago, and I remember thinking to myself, this guy's going to be the best coach in the NBA one day. He's so good.
He's
And
so
I don't know
good.
if he's the best coach in the NBA, but
Yeah,
he's really good. And for this being his first season, he has finally he's given this Boston team an identity. He's totally unlocked. Yeah. So I think, for the Raptors to keep you to the question, I think second round would be a dream. I think a competitive
I
first
agree.
round series would be a very, very successful season.
And for me, there's a pecking order. If I'm a Raptors fan, I want the Sixers 1, the Bulls number 2, and that's pretty much it. I guess like that's like anybody else, I don't see them
Huh.
beating.
Yeah. No, I think that's fair. I think that's fair.
I think if they get
Again,
the Bucks, they're gonna get like they're not gonna win. Like they'll win 2, but it's
I
it's
think I
it's
think a
over in
lot of this
6.
changes if Fred VanVleet can somehow get healthy. Now, I haven't heard anything about the knee that's encouraging. That's telling me that he's going to get back to
So is
October,
that a
November
major reason why
levels.
you think he shot 35% the last 3 months? So let's move on to that topic.
Yeah, part of that is that. Part of that is the same reason that Gary Trent is on a cold streak. It's because I think eventually numbers balance out. I think
That's true.
if you're a shooter, especially if you're a shooter who does not hunt good shots, like it's like a diet thing, right? It's like you're
Hmm.
crapping out on a bad diet, right? Fred VanVleet and Gary Trent Jr. are bad shot takers. For a lot of the season, they were also bad shot makers. There are a lot of shots where Fred VanVleet is like taking a shot that's totally out of rhythm early in the shot clock, and you're like, no, 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 no. Oh, yes, he made it. Now those shots are not going in. Is that part of his knee? I'm not a doctor. I don't know. He says it's his
Hmm.
knee. but he's also getting 5 steals a game for the last 2 games. So who the hell am I to say that he's injured? I don't know if he's injured, but Fred VanVleet has been notorious. Number one, he has never shot above league average in his entire career. It's not just injuries. Let's not pretend. Okay, he's a poor finisher around the rim. That's a really big part of how guards tend to, especially guards like Ja Morant and Derrick Rose in his prime, whatever. Those guys, they racked up like high percentages at the rim. Fred VanVleet tosses up bricks at the rim and gets blocked at the rim. So for this guy, he's mainly a jump shooter. So his percentages are never going to be like Ja Morant. They're never going to be high.
Right.
So the best you can expect is efficiently like 42.
What's his career 2-point? If you know from the top of your head, like what's his career 2-point field goal percentage?
It's below 45%. I'll guarantee it.
Okay,
I'll guarantee it.
Yeah,
like,
he's not Fox. I mean, D Fox is getting you like almost 50. From like
it's not because again, like when you look at De'Aaron Fox, like, how much separation does that guy create on his blow-bys? So much. How much separation can he create off his handle? Fred VanVleet doesn't create a lot of separation, and he's vertically challenged, so he's taking a lot of contested shots, and he also makes and takes a lot of bad shots. So there's just part of the reason that Ben Taylor for Thinking Basketball had him 10th. They said he doesn't provide downhill pressure on the rim. He doesn't provide any rim pressure as a point guard. And I think that's a really big thing, because if you see De'Aaron Fox coming down on a break, it's a problem, right? Yeah. You see Fred VanVleet coming down on a break, it's not a problem because he's not fast enough to exploit, the space. Exactly. You just have to cover the 3-point line. And I think, again, like when you get into like scouting a 7-game series, a lot of these things start to factor in. That being, so that being said, if you want to choose to stop a guy, I think, and Fred VanVleet has never been a featured guy in a playoff series. Let's not get it twisted here. Okay. He has been a sixth man, he's been a sixth man. He's been a fifth option, right? He has the same amount of experience as a first option in a playoff series as Scottie Barnes does, which is 0. Okay. So how he's going to now function in that primary facilitator role. I mean, look, we saw it with Lowry, like Lowry's first playoff series, second playoff series. This was not a fun time for Kyle Lowry against the Nets and the Magic. He had to learn. And so, if we're going to go through those growing pains with Fred right now, that's fine. I assume Nick Nurse, is smarter than I am, but I would say learn from the past. Learn from the past, because Kyle Lowry taking 16 shots a game didn't get you anywhere. Okay, it got you to LeBron exit, Bradley Beal exit. Like, it just got you through exits. But it wasn't until you had a guy who could actually exploit space the way Kawhi could that you actually did make it. And I see a guy like that on this team. His name is Scotty Barnes. So I would rather hopefully not waste this playoff opportunity by trying to force feed Fred VanVleet 25 shots a game. And I just have a feeling that he's going to take those shots no matter what. So I would rather he make 45% of them than 35% of them.
And
so that's what I'm saying.
Perfect segue into Scottie Barnes. Last topic of the show. I want to be respectful for your time. Will Scottie Barnes win Rookie of the Year? And 2-part question, should Scottie Barnes win Rookie of the Year? Because those are 2 different questions, right? Will he and should he? Because to me, honestly, and I'll start it off, he, without question, to me, this is a one-trick pony. It was, too, with Evan, but like with Evan, being injured as of late, it's a Scottie Barnes Rookie of the Year. I love Cade. I love Jalen. Like, I love this rookie class. Like, I love Davion, but this is Scottie Barnes to lose award. Like, this is his award. He's made the Raptors relevant again right off the bat. Like, and that's incredible for a rookie of that age to come into this type of a culture to say, you know what, we're a top 6 team in the Eastern Conference, a superior conference this season. That's insane to me, bro. I don't know what else he has to do to win Rookie of the Year.
Maybe turning the ball over 4 times a game will help his case. Like Cade.
Okay,
right?
But he's a rookie. like Cade Cunningham, without even looking at the stats, I'm pretty damn sure that my man averages a ton of turnovers. Like, without even looking at the stats. Am I right or wrong?
4 turnovers a game. 4 turnovers
there you go.
Almost. I think it's like 4 turnovers per 100 or 4 turnovers per game. It's insane. Look, Scotty has been the most efficient rookie He's also been the least featured rookie. He doesn't get the ball a ton. He generates most of his own offense by himself. It's off the glass. It's off his own drives. He has done a lot to impact winning for the Raptors. He's leading the rookie class in win shares. His .13136, I think, win shares. It's don't quote me on that. Per 48. He has absolutely impacted winning. He has more defensive win shares, I think. And I think the one thing, people have drawn arguments for Cade, saying, oh, well, he's doing more with less. I would say Scottie Barnes would have done even more with the Pistons, in my opinion. I also think Scottie's played more games. I think that should factor for something. Cade's had some pretty big explosive, shooting opportunities lately. But look, since the AllStar break, Scottie's been on a tear. Okay, so this whole if you give him a higher usage rate or you give him more shots, the percentages are going to fall. Actually, the percentages have risen. Absolutely,
which is rare because typically speaking, they fall, right? Like the more featured you are, the more shots you take.
They typically do, unless you're a really smart player, which he is, right? Yes. The ball in his hands, and it just so happens that his usage rate going up and his shot attempts going up have coincided with probably the best stretch of Raptors basketball this season, right? Consistently, it's been good. That all being said, will he win it? I don't know, and I'm leaning towards maybe not. And the reason I say that is because, look, I know Amari Stoudemire won the Rookie of the Year despite being the 9th pick over Yao Ming. But Amari was not a unanimously hated pick. There are a lot of draft experts out there who have votes right now, and they hated this pick. They said it was Suggs or bust. How can you do this? And I think a lot of these people are still thinking the same way. I think they're reverse engineering sort of a narrative about why Scottie is just benefiting from playing with better teammates, how he's a glorified hustle guy, how he doesn't do anything but finish in the paint. And I think this is all bullshit. The reason I say this is because if you look at analytics and you look at tracking data on how he gets his shots, it's incredible how many different ways this guy scores. He could do this on any team. And my argument for him really is role. There's no one who has been asked to do what he's asked to do across 36 minutes on a winning team. So it's like before it was, it's Evan Mobley because Evan Mobley impacts the defense. Well,
agreed.
Okay, Jared Allen went out, and the Cleveland Cavaliers defense went to worst in the league. Worst. Okay, so obviously it wasn't Evan Mobley alone. Okay, Evan Mobley was a part of it, but he's not the whole thing. So but the Raptors have functioned with Scottie as a 5, Scottie as a 4, 3, 2, 1. They've had Scottie replace Fred. They've had Scottie replace OG. They've had Scottie replace Pascal. And he's done all those things. So what more does this guy have to do to earn your respect? I mean, he has done everything. I don't care if he wins Rookie of the Year. At this point, he's my Rookie of the Year. And no matter what, if my kids ask me 20 years from now who won Rookie of the Year this year, I will lie. And I will tell them Scottie Barnes won it because he deserves it.
Scotty Barnes plays the right way, and we can talk about per 36 if he had more opportunities, if we feature him. But the funny thing is, he also has the box score numbers to back up and make a case for himself to win Rookie of the Year. It's not like he's averaging 8 points.
It's not Shane Battier. He's good.
Scotty Barnes has gotten buckets, as you alluded to, in different ways. Watching them very closely, watching them in person in Sacramento. If you give him the ball in the post, he has 1 or 2 post moves at the age of 19 already. And he's just
20.
bulldozing, using his smarts and just going over guys. I've seen him do it. It's not like he's a glorified, no disrespect to my guy Rashawn Holmes. This guy is skill. He's a bona fide skilled NBA player who is only going to get better. He can pass the ball. He can lead. There's nothing he can't do. Full court passes in transition, can spin on you, which is insane when he spins because, you got that 7'4" wingspan ready to jam it on you. And defensively, he's a great rotational team defender. He's a very good sticky on-ball defender. And
I've gotten to know Scottie a little bit, and
it's crazy to me. It's crazy, Rob.
the work that this guy put in to become a better shooter, his mid-range numbers are really good. Actually, they're very encouraging. They're at least on par, if not better than most of the perimeter players. We're talking Jalen Green, Suggs, all those guys, like better than Suggs, obviously. He's been so good for this team. But ultimately, at the
15
end of
and
the day,
7.5. Like this guy ain't
yeah,
averaging 5 points a game. Like it's crazy.
no, he's incredibly good. I think the numbers don't quite tell the full story of
Exactly.
how good he's been, because again, if you just take out that January, that one January where he was recovering from the thumb, and he had he had the tendonitis, and he was just trying to fit into the team because there was obviously like some chemistry issues with the Raptors where there was only one ball and there were 5 people who wanted to shoot it. I mean, you take out those January splits, he's basically averaging like 18 points per game on the season. Like it's been
And
crazy.
three and a
No,
half
he,
assists, not counting his hockey assists. Come on, man. That's
Oh,
crazy.
and I mean, like you're talking about a guy who barely gets the ball, and he just finds players,
Exactly.
and he's connective, and I think like one thing that people really don't give him credit for, which the box score will never capture, but the win record does capture, is his communication. Scotty Barnes
Fact.
is like, if you could take, okay, like people ask me like what, like first of all, I will say this because I think it's a quotable thing to say. There are two types of people in this world. There are people who appreciate Scotty Barnes, and then there are people who've never played basketball. That's basically it. Like if you have played basketball at any level above high school, like high school or above, you cannot watch this guy and not be absolutely floored by how good he is. Because every time I talk to someone who doesn't like him, I'm like, you've never played, and they confirm it. They have never played. I don't mean to be pretentious about it, but there's just
No,
certain things when you have actually played
100%.
the game that you just notice certain things, and you coach and you see it and you're like, oh my God, how is he doing this at 20? He's a communicator. Okay, like Scotty Barnes, biggest hands in the draft. Okay, 7'3" wingspan. Okay, 40-inch vert. Okay, huge strides. Okay, like massive post moves. Every one of those things, elite offensive rebounding, touch around the basket, 66, 67% from within 5 feet. Okay, all of that. And I will still say his communication as a teammate on and off the floor is his greatest quality. And people don't want to hear that. People don't
Yeah.
want to hear that because they don't want to award someone for being rookie of the year because they're a really good communicator. But that is really what it comes down to, because
And
that's what
it's
winning teams
translated
need.
into wins. It's translated into the Raptors being a top 6 team, and that matters.
Absolutely. Nick Nurse is not a stupid coach. He is a really smart coach, and he is not playing this guy. It's funny. Like a friend of mine were watching this game, watching the Raptors a couple of weeks ago, and we were like, it's kind of funny that Nurse is just buying Scotty time just so he can get him back out there. Like he needs him. He's not playing him to get him experience. There's a lot of rookies out there who probably should not be playing at all. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
but their teams are investing in their minutes. Scotty Barnes is not playing because the Raptors have invested a draft pick in him. He is playing because he is legitimately one of the 3 to 4 best players on this team, and this team needs him to win. And I think, look, at the end of the day, my case to every writer out there, and it has been, and I've written emails and I've written posts and so many things to those writers, and if one of them's listening to this right now, picking Scotty Barnes for Rookie of the Year is picking basketball. It's picking the right stuff. It's picking the right person. It's picking a guy who's not about the numbers. It's picking a guy who's about team winning. It's picking a guy who's about winning championships and not about all-star votes and all this shit that I hate about the league. Now it's picking a guy who cares about his teammates, who celebrates. Like I know we don't want to necessarily talk about this as a culture, but having a guy who can score 2 points and be happy that his team won is incredibly underrated. And I think
Facts.
that if you pick this guy for Rookie of the Year, you are picking a guy who just genuinely plays the game with a lot of joy and love, and just the right stuff. And it's a good thing to see. And regardless of whether he wins it or not, I'm just happy that this guy's going to be a part of this league for the next 17 years. Touch wood. All right.
I
Yeah.
can't I can't say it any better, man. That was a lovely ending to this pod, man. For the people that are watching this, that will watch this after, people that were live, we appreciate you guys for being live. We didn't tell nobody we were doing this. We just came out like, let's do it. Okay. I'm doing one right now with my boy from the Rockets, and we'll be talking Rockets basketball too, because they have a bright future, man. I mean, they got Jalen, who's been playing out of his mind as of late, but
He's
it's not
incredible.
enough. It's not enough to say as a whole, like this is rookie of the year, not rookie of the month. As a whole, to me, is Scotty Barnes. Like body
100%.
of work is Scotty Barnes. Like, and if there's a second, no disrespect to Cade or Jalen, it's Evan Mobley. So that's how I feel about it. And again, like if Davion would have had time and minutes earlier in the year the same way he is now, who he's been killing that as of late. I mean, just on both ends of the floor, he's a beast defensively. He's been really good offensively as well. Like, but we're not talking about the last 3 weeks of the season. We're talking about a full season. That's Scotty Barnes, man. Rob, where can people find you? What should we expect from you moving forward? I know both of you and I have been very busy with a bunch of film, production.
Yeah, we're both film people, but yeah, Pensare Basketball, you can expect a lot of stuff from us during the playoffs. We'll do video breakdowns. We'll do, little video essays. We'll do game sessions. I mean, it's a place for thinking basketball. Thinking about the game a little bit deeper. And for fans who are into that, that's great. Fans who just want to go out with the foam finger and celebrate, power to you. There's place for everybody here. Yeah.
Well, that's going to do it, y'all. Thank you guys so much. And on behalf of entire Raptors Nation, we'll see you guys very, very soon. Peace.